So, sir, there is a global projection that the global GDP will come down. So that is a gloomy picture that has come because United Nations has recently released a report talking about how post Ukraine and Russia war, the globe is going to face the global recession. So from that perspective, and especially after the pandemic, because we are encountering two major problems, how the world will pan out in terms of industrial growth, how the world will pan out in terms of job market, and how the world will pan out from Indian perspective. Because what is the opportunity that you see for the Indian students in the coming days? I have these three questions. So,
Well, I believe globally there are going to be regional realignments amongst the countries. So new blocks of cooperations will emerge. As you rightly said, the GDP will go down for sure because this war has been devastating and its results and implications will be felt over a period of time. And the animosity which is on the increase between China and USA will also damage it further. So GDP part is understandable, but on side of qualitative changes, innovation is something which has already come in place. And innovation, as we are seeing in India, is only in the shape of only apps being developed and only very, very small applications being made. This is what is happening in Indian environment of innovation. I think it has to go up and it has to result into what was earlier with AT&T and Bell Labs and more recently with 3M. So there it is the corporate driven innovation. So where I see potential and future of Indian corporates, which has already started happening through what is called family business, family funding, family business. So they have started allocating funds. For example, I know of Haldiraj, for example, I know of Munjals. So they have set apart funds for funding innovation. Now, in the larger context, the setups are coming, Chief Innovation Officer, for example, in Samsung. So I am seeing innovation differently than what is being seen innovation today. So the innovation will be getting corporatized. Today, innovation is being driven on an individual basis, that is one. Second thing, even in the journey of innovation in the last 15 years, I've been seeing 15 years back it was idea. Today, when we evaluate any startup in terms of pitching or funding or whatever, what we look at is team. Team is more important for delivery rather than idea. Lots of people may have idea, but team is important. So for the youngsters, what is important is to have a relook at innovation in terms of team building and building those capabilities which were not understood or appreciated in the past. Thank you.
okay.
So if I have to answer the same questions, since Sir has answered it in great detail, let me maybe give a little bit of a different dimension to it. To me, the wars happen. We have seen so many wars over centuries, and even in our lifetime, India went through multiple wars. Sometimes these are inevitable and they happen, but then I think you also have to look at the opportunity that is created out of that. Just like how the COVID pandemic has created so many innovations. We have done everything. So many technology innovations have been fast forwarded. Even the thing like metaverse, which was probably a distant dream 10, 15 years, got kind of fast forwarded by almost 5 years. I think we'll see a lot more of that because of this whole virtual world and all that. So to me, yes, the war happened. There could be pockets of GDP that will come down, which will have a much larger impact. Maybe the impact on India will be slightly lesser compared to other nations, but it will also have an impact because it's all connected. So to me, it's an opportunity to figure out, it's because it's all a cyclical thing. Something were to happen, if the war wouldn't have happened, something else would have happened. So that would have caused the GDP to come down. So that's, to me, it's a cyclical thing. It happened, it will recover. Now, as far as opportunities for the students after this pandemic is, to me, I think there are more opportunities now than before, because as Sir said, there's a lot of investment into innovations. People are looking at specifically funding new ideas. One is out of the family offices, but also the global funds. India is today the hotbed for global investments. You name it, there is no fund that is not present in India, with anywhere from $500 million to $1 billion to 3, 4, 5, 10 billion kind of investment with a 5-year roadmap to be invested in India. So where will this money go? This money will go into creating infrastructure, funding new ideas, new innovations, be it technology, be it real estate, be it healthcare, be it education, all these industries. The global funds are very hungry to fund ideas like this in a country like India, because everybody knows that the next 2 decades are going to be India's decades. We have seen America's, we have seen Europe's, we have seen China, and now I think the next 2 decades are going to be India. So I think for students in I.T.S or elsewhere, I think there will be ample number of opportunities. I think I like that saying on the board. As long as they follow that, as long as they have determination, for sure there will be number of opportunities for this generation. Actually, more than 2 years ago.
And slight take on Make in India, sir.
Make in India, which is very close to my heart personally, because of we have created a pure homegrown data center in India. I'm also one of the founders of a startup which is called manufacturing servers. So we just started that journey. I wish to take that forward in a much bigger way, but Make in India, we didn't make as much progress, honestly. We have ideas, we have innovations, but taking them into implementation, we are still far away. The government is trying, had tried in many different ways, allocating budgets and putting together teams around it, putting together some minds around it, but then to me it's going slow. But I think this decade a lot of things we'll start to see. Semiconductor shortage is one thing. Hopefully India will cut, or not cut, maybe reduce the number of supply chain dependencies. Right? We have dependency on coal. What if there is a restriction on importing coal, or suddenly we get into a fight with the neighboring country and they don't allow you to import as much coal? What will happen to generation of electricity in a country like India? We are 70% or more of the electricity is being generated on coal. So it's a huge dependency. We need to cut that. Same thing, semiconductors. We need to manufacture semiconductors locally within India, because everything gadget that we touch, electronic, has a microprocessor in it. So that dependency, while we might not have the technology, we can buy technology. Look at Dubai, what they have done. They have everything. So Dubai may be not a relevant example, but I'm just saying how things can be done. You can buy technology, you can use the current power of India in terms of consumer power that India has, and enforce these companies to give the technology to India, implement within India and manufacture within India, so that we cut all the supply chain dependencies. Tomorrow another pandemic comes, another major war comes. You don't want to be in a situation where you are not able to import roti, kapda or makan. These are the 3 things. You should not be dependent on other countries for these 3 things. So these are very important. That's why Make in India is very, very relevant. So we are far out there, but I think progress has been made. A lot more effort needs to be put in, not just by the governments, but also by the large enterprises who have corporate responsibility. Because government alone cannot do this. Because we were not a very big company. We were a small idea, but an idea we had to push forward. So there will be a lot of sacrifices along the way for some of these companies, because it's not easy to do business in India. You have to fight through the system. So you have to have that bit of a courage to be able to fight through the system and make your way through to do this. So Make in India, I hope we'll make some progress over the next 4 or 5 years.
And one more question: if we need to synchronize the industrial demand and the academic that we carry forward over here, so what kind of changes that you see that we as an academician should introduce over here?
I think being relevant, I think as Dev was saying, I think you have to be relevant we can't use the same textbooks that we used 10 years ago, because when we were studying, we had textbooks that were 30 years old and it worked fine, just fine. It was okay, because a lot of innovation was done during that period, and the invention life cycles were much longer. It used to take a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades for something to mature, right? Something like a TV when I was young, This weekend I was watching 83, the movie on OTT. It was every moment I can relive. It was one of the best weekends that those 3 hours that I had in the recent past, because I lived that moment. But then that brings me my memory of my first TV, right? So the evolution of TV, it took like 30 years, to really mature, 25, 30 years in India. So it was okay back then, but today every 2 years, 3 years, things are changing. iPhone releases a model every 6 months, every one month. It's ridiculous. So to me, from that perspective, you have to be relevant in terms of technology. Blockchain is something that has been introduced very recently. A lot of stuff has been done outside India, but India, on this aspect, for example, I don't know how much research is being done in educational institutions like even IITs. To my knowledge, not enough is done. I know, being on one of the boards of the blockchain companies, I've had a little bit exposure into how much work is being done in India, but I think enough work is not done at the research level to take some of these things even at an IIT level. So, because a lot of institutions follow IITs, right, in India, rightfully so, but now there are great institutions who are doing their own research and all, probably like I.T.S. So being relevant, understanding what is going on in the industry, talking to the people in the industry, inviting people like us and having these interactions are great to know what is going on. But blockchain is one important thing which to me should have been part of your curriculum. If it is not there, it should be, because it eliminates fraud, it eliminates a lot of things doing the other way. Everything is more straightforward. So some of these technologies, I think being relevant, knowing what is going on and then implementing them, I think you should look at every 2 years or even every year, having sort of an addendum to your curriculum, remove some stuff that is irrelevant, add some stuff. It's not that difficult. I think it's probably, if all the minds and the professors sit together, I think you can figure that out in a month. Okay, what has been done? You can have a steering committee, if you will, across. You can have a steering committee within the university. It cannot be not too many people, like 4 or 5 people. And this 4 or 5 people as a steering committee can decide, okay, what is introduced in the last 12 months? Is there any change that we need to do? Or is it too premature? Okay, let's wait for next year. Let's see if the technology matures. So like that steering committee, with the approval of your chairman, you can sit, you can make these decisions every year. And those small things can be incorporated. And then, especially if you're becoming a university, you'll be autonomous. You can do your own stuff by introducing some of this stuff into your curriculum.
Thank you. Sir, थोड़ा सा इस पे क्वेश्चन आपके लिए थोड़ा सा डिफरेंट है सर. What are the key areas in Make in India that India should focus? Only key area.
If you permit, can I answer the earlier question first?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That.
Your question relating to how can industry interaction with academia be improved? That is your question. So I would like to draw your attention to NEP 2020 first, National Education Policy 2020. The good and bad thing about NEP 2020 is that it does not talk about STEM, and it has given a lot of importance to arts and languages and culture and many other things, but that's just one part. What is our take from there is that you can have institutional development plan, IDP. Now if you really want to encourage your people, just like in good American universities, a professor may be very good in getting funds from industry or from government. So he is still a professor, he may not be PhD. There's another gentleman who may be excellent in some other sphere, maybe sports. So he is a professor despite not having PhD. So the good thing is, most recently, I think last week, Chairman UGC has declared that you can have professor of practice. That will not be a PhD guy. Now, the hesitation today is industry has very different perspective. Industry works on short-term basis. Industry has 1 year goal, 6 monthly targets, quarterly targets, and government works on 3 or 5 years plan, because that's the time they have to go back for election. And academicians have no time limits. They have no constraints on time. They don't take decisions at all. So these are 3 different planes. So that is the reason industry, academia, government interaction does not take place. Now IDP, which is proposed in NEP, is 100% freedom to you, academic autonomy, administrative autonomy, and financial autonomy, all the 3 autonomy. So you decide the parameters of promotion within your own university or your own institution, and you have your own board of governors. So there is no interference. UGC is not going to remain what UGC is today. ICT is not going to remain. These are being demolished anyways. Okay. In fact, it could have happened by now, but it will happen soon. So your IDP is the guiding principle. So you want to have more interaction. Why not have more interaction? So if you give opportunity to professor for promotion, if he does better interaction with the industry, do it. So you'll have better interaction. If you want to invite an industry person to teach for a semester or 2 semesters, he can come on sabbatical. You can have arrangement with the industry people on such things. So you can increase the interaction, but the platform has been now provided them anyway. So that is the advantage point of it. All right.
That's the second part. The second part, I ask you, what are the key areas that government should focus when it is carrying out the policy called Make in India?
I am not too sure. I am not too sure on that aspect, but I will again take you back to the earlier question, where I would like to add that our people are going abroad in large numbers. Okay, I remember 15 years back when I used to go to Frankfurt, there was hardly any Indian scene. Today, if you go to Frankfurt, you see so many Indians. I am talking about Germany. So the population in Europe, in general, is going down, and at least Germany is one country which has started accepting immigrants. Now this story is true of many other countries, all right? And one of the reasons NATO is not able to fight is because they don't have people to fight. They don't have youngsters to fight. This is a matter of fact. So what the opportunity Indians have is to move outside of India and do work. So that is another opportunity to the younger generation. That is one. Second, I was also reminded a few days back I was attending a marriage in Roorkee. So one of the professor's girl I came across, she had done MBA from Bangalore, etc., etc. I said, what are you doing? She said, I have my own startup. I said, what startup do you have? She said, I thought when Amazon can come to India, buy products from Indians, sell products to Indians, why can't I do it in Europe? I said, then? She said, I have set up my company. I said, how many people are there? She said, I am alone. I have one person owners. I said, what do you do? She said, I have set up a company like Amazon and I sell products in Europe. So imagine where can your brain take you to. So the whole globe is a market, provided you want to explore it. So this outgoing part, which I had not spoken earlier, I want to compliment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So nice
Thank
of
you.
you, sir. So I have just created data for my students.
No problem.
मैंने आपका जवाब नहीं दिया क्योंकि मुझे आता नहीं था. I know nothing about making. Yeah, the expert.